Resistance is futile.
Boldly going where no show has gone before. This is The Week in Geek with David D. Squared and Brian Held. Heard live on News Talk 99.5 WRNO and the iHeartRadio app. Here are your hosts, Brian Held and D. Squared.
Greetings, people of Earth. This is The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I'm your host, D Squared, along with
Brian Held.
Brian Held. How are you, buckaroo?
Good, man. I'm just ready to get this show on the road.
Wow. You're just no foreplay. None whatsoever. Just want to get straight to it. All right, well, who's our first segment? Top Nerd News. Then we have Skungy with his pick of the week.
Right, and then we're going to have two great guests.
Woo!
Our first guest is Mr. James Hostler. He is the author of the Bobcat. It's a new comic book series that's coming out. We're going to talk to him. And then we're going to have Sky Conway, and he's going to be talking about this project he's working on called Cosmo, and that was a great interview, so we'll air that in a bit.
Okie dokie, artichoke, but first... And now, your top nerd news stories from around the world, brought to you by the Viridian Tea Company. Find them on Etsy. And now, your top nerd news stories. All right, Brian. I'm not even sure what should be topping us off, I guess.
There's only one thing that can top us off.
No, it's depressing.
It is, but we have to talk about it, right? You know, of course, this past Monday, an icon of our community passed away, Stan Lee, of some 95 years. Still, cause of death hasn't been released, so we're not sure. But he was an old guy. And
95?
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good run, man. Look, it's like, I'm glad I got my picture with him when I did.
Absolutely.
Even though, it's like, he was still going to him. I think he cut out going up to Canada, the Great White North, but he still was going to some cons. He still even had his own con going.
Well, and, some of those close to him said that he was even ready to still do more cameos for the MCU. So, although he was, getting more tired, and he had a rough year, of course. He had a bout of pneumonia and all the mess with his handlers and all that kind of stuff.
I still hate people.
Yes. So, he definitely was someone that we all looked up to, that gave us just a plethora of stories that we can look on for aeons. And
there was also just like talking about the cameos. Like Sam Raimi apparently wasn't too hot on having Stan show up as a cameo.
Well,
and so obviously, he retracted that and put him in there, and then thus started the great the debate of whether Stan was a watcher or not.
Right, absolutely.
But this is something that came out of just some of the later interviews, that just a more recent when they were putting together like a little biopic or documentary, and he didn't know the camera was on him, and this was tweeted out by his Twitter account. So here, take a listen. This is Stan's thoughts on how much he loves us, the fans.
We got, again, the fans love your sense of humor.
Well, it's an equal love fest, because I love my fans. I cannot tell you how much I love my fans. They, sometimes at night, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's it all about, And then I get a letter from a fan, or I read something, or I see something, or I remember something, and I realize it's so lucky to have fans who really care about you. And that's the reason I care so much about the fans, because they make me feel so great. And there's something, if you think about it, that is wonderful about somebody caring about you as I care about them, whom you've never met, who may live in another part of the world, but they care, and you have something in common, and occasionally you contact each other. And this business of fans, I think, is terrific. And I love them all.
Why is somebody cutting onions in the studio, Brian?
Yes.
Why are people cutting onions in here?
It's
I'm not
tough.
crying, you're crying.
Yes. So,
it's crazy to think that we're never going to really hear that voice again. You
well,
know? I mean, I'm sure we'll more things will pop up that he's worked on over the years, or family films and all that kind of cool stuff. But it's gonna be weird not seeing him in making those cameo appearances anymore. So.
Yeah, but at least we had him for when we did, and thanks, Stan, for everything.
Oh well, maybe he could show up in the new Ghostbusters. Well, they got the Sam Raimi, not Sam Raimi. What's his nuts? Spangler's gone.
Right. That's a terrible segue.
What? That's
Dave.
a great segue.
But yeah,
we could bring it back. We brought back Michael Jackson. He was dancing at the Marvin Gardens or whatever.
As a quick aside, and I've been hearing this lately, is that we should replace every Stan Lee cameo with Deadpool. Right, and just have the wig and the aviators and the mustache, and it would just step right in place. Right?
Sure. Sure. So I don't know, this Ghostbusters crap. I'm so tired of it. It's not happening. Why does this keep popping up in our news feeds?
Apparently, the main cast who is still alive is talking about getting back together and putting on a Ghostbusters 3 that would be separated from the recent Ghostbusters movie that came out with the ladies cast.
Did you see the lady Ghostbuster movie?
I did.
Bill Murray looked like crap. He looked like he was half dead himself.
Well, I mean, whatever.
He looks like crap. And Dan Aykroyd ain't looking much better. I mean, they're all on their last leg. What are we going to do? CGI them into their younger faces?
Well, you can take just like dollies, right, and just wheel them out on the set.
Right.
And whatever it takes to get the last dollar out of our pockets.
Look, if they did a 3, I don't even think I'd go see it. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Look, we've been burnt. We've been burnt once before. I mean, and I'm talking about Ghostbusters 2, not the lady Ghostbusters. I'm talking about Ghostbusters 2. That was a travesty.
It was kind of bad. Yeah.
So look, be what it is. People can be upset about the new Ghostbusters, the old Ghostbusters. I could care less about a third Ghostbusters. Just leave it alone. They tried rebooting it. It did not take, obviously, and so and that experiment has failed too. I don't think that you can't reboot it anymore.
How about we talk about some new content? Would you like to do that?
I would like to do that.
All right. So there's a whole bunch of sources that are talking about Hulu adapting George R.R. Martin's Wild Card series.
God, I love that. That is awesome.
That would be incredible. Right? Not only because it would give us some new content, but it's also superhero related. And of course, we're on a big superhero kick right now. That's the big in thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
I'm superhero fatigued out now.
Are you?
I am. I'm there, man.
Well, I'm not. I want more superheroes. Okay. I mean, I had all my childhood years. That was a long time. Right, so we're not even surpassed that yet.
We're having a good run, man, and but this is something where I like it would be a throwback to the halcyon days of the 4-color comics and just the cheese that was the superheroes back then. And one of the best parts about that book was just that they had this monument to failure. Where like I still hadn't seen the Al Jolson story. It was just. I loved what they had also, just like with the Jokers, the deformities and everything, and the superpowers. It was well done. You had a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Right. So just to give our listeners some context, the Wild Card series was an anthology series that George R.R. Martin was kind of heading up. And,
Melinda Snodgrass.
Right. And all of these authors were coming out here who had a formula, a set of rules by which they could write stories in this universe, and there was a virus, and some people were aces and they got powers, and some people were jokers and they didn't luck out so much, and so it super awesome book series.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they went into all of them, and the funny part was it kind of started towards the end going the route of what was it, Thieves World? What was the one that?
Yeah, Thieves World was the one with Robert Aspirin. And
right, there was a whole bunch of cooks in the kitchen, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And so somebody would get mad at somebody, and they'd kill off their character. And so that would started happening in the Wild Card series. Weird stuff would start happening. Somebody get mad at somebody, and they'd screw with their character in the book. And so then they'd have to go and rewrite their story. But I say all that to say this, because they rebooted it recently again. Some more books came out, and I say recently, 10 years, 5 years, I'm not sure when.
All right.
But it was all set in with a new team of aces, and it was all set as a reality TV show. So they had all these guys trying out to be like basically on Survivor, on reality TV. And so they're all trying out, and then, they get on there, and one guy, starts cheating, but then when they start, getting voted out of the house, somebody snatches up the aces and asks them to go defend these jokers that are getting murdered in like the Middle East. It's just a great story. And I mean, there's so much to mine from there, where they could start at the beginning, how it all started, like your origin stories, and then just go anywhere they want.
Yeah.
And it's all brand new stuff, but also, just talk about some of the other cool things they could do. Robert Asprin, the Fools series, the Fools Company.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Like a rich dude who buys basically the Foreign Legion and throws a giant, galactic party.
Right.
And then the Myth Adventure series, that would be pretty cool. And it's not superhero stuff, so I could dive into that for a while and then go back to the superhero party.
Myth Adventures is sort of comedic fantasy.
Yes.
Right? And we're getting that with Disenchanted right now from The Simpsons, folks.
I still have yet to watch it, but no, yeah.
Yeah, so which, I'm wondering, we've got Game of Thrones that have been running for a while and all this stuff. Is fantasy on the ascendancy as superheroes are kind of waning?
I don't know. I think the debate is still there. I don't think we have enough information to go on right now, because Game of Thrones is coming out, but it's their final season.
Yeah, April 2019 has been confirmed.
Right, and so Game of Thrones is wild. Yeah, it's ascending. It's about to end and descend. Walking Dead is descending. So what's the next big series that that captures the world,
right,
or the country, because you've seen all the Game of Thrones fans that have lost their minds, all the Walking Dead fans have seen, lost their minds. What's the next one?
I don't know, because there's some stuff, filming right now in New Orleans that, sort of I can't really talk about, but I could see furthering some of those veins.
Yeah, but it would have to be something along this line where they can do a whole lot with it without the big 3 letters, networks trying to tell them what they can and can't do.
Right.
And I don't consider AMC a 3-letter network.
No, this is streaming stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, look, Netflix has put out some pretty damn good stuff, Same thing
absolutely.
with Amazon. I mean, The Man in the High Castle, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it'll never be as big as, any of those things, but there's stuff out there. It's just that, I don't know, sometimes maybe they have to be on those 3-letter networks to really get, that national appeal.
Maybe so.
Because everybody could get it. I don't know, man.
There...
I went and paid for HBO, and I don't like paying nothing.
Well, I mean, do we have too much freedom, Dave? Is there too much choice out there for us?
There's never too much choice. There's never too much choice. Now, we would have to choose about this, the new Pokemon movie. Brian, here, take a listen.
Welcome to Rhyme City, a celebration of the harmony between humans and Pokemon.
Whoever you are, I know how to use this.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I know. You can't understand me. But put down the stapler or I will electrocute you.
Did you just talk?
Whoa. Did you just understand me?
Oh my God, you can understand me. Stop. I've been so lonely.
They try to talk to me all the time. All they hear is Pika Pika.
You can hear him, right?
Pika Pika. Yeah, Pika Pika Pika. He's adorable.
You're adorable. They can't understand me, kid.
Can no one else hear him? I don't need a Pokemon, period.
Then what about a world-class detective? Because if you want to find your pops, I'm your best bet.
We're gonna do this. You and me.
Nobody but you.
There's magic that brought us together, and that magic is called hope.
Oh.
Okay, so that is the trailer for the new Detective Pikachu movie that's going to be coming out soon. And when I went to press play, I'm like, I don't know about this. And then at the end, I'm like, I want more Ryan Reynolds.
And it's so funny. Like, I'm so used to him being Deadpool. I hear that voice. You don't see the face because, you just see Deadpool. And when the girl was like, oh, Pika Pika, you're so cute, I was expecting to be like, yeah, I got you cute right here because he's such a, I'm so used to him being Deadpool, man.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but it looks interesting. And the CGI Pokemon actually don't look half bad. Some of them,
it looks good, actually.
So I don't know. I'm on the fence, leaning towards I might actually enjoy this movie.
Yeah, no.
Ryan Reynolds makes everything better, including sex.
All right, Dave. Do we have to cut out for a break?
I don't know, not really, but yeah, I guess. Did you want to touch on anything else before we go to break, though? Once we go to break, there's no coming back, man.
No,
there's
that's
no
it.
coming back.
Let's go ahead and cut it out. All right, guys.
I like the Hasbro thing, man. That Hasbro thing is cool because it's like real live, like playgrounds for adults and kids, though.
Well, it's interesting. Hasbro's launching a family entertainment centers there across North America. They're really eyeing the Target stores to kind of get an experience, right? And this is in lieu of no more Toys R Us, right? Because you could go to Toys R Us and kind of get that experience. And I don't know, they're really reading the article. They're looking to find some way to get people off of their sofa.
Well, the first thing that popped in my head was like a real life Chutes and Ladders game where, like, if they're building like a playground, because they kept talking about how they want you to bring the family out there and to hang out and stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, they used to have that Hasbro game night on TV. It was like board game night, or maybe it was called board game night.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. I mean, it was semi-interesting. But it's something. It's like golf. I can't stand watching golf, but I'll go out there and knock a few around on the course.
Sure.
But it's boring as hell. I'd rather watch paint dry.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. When Hasbro starts rolling these out, it might be interesting.
It could be. Could be a lot of things.
All right, guys. When we get back from these short commercial messages, we'll have our boy Skungy and his pick of the week. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Friends, is your morning tea just not your cup of tea? Then try the tea blends of Viridian Tea Company. At Viridian Tea Company, they sell blends guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With such blends as My Enemy's Tears, Goth Librarian, Cyberpunk, and many more, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop, located at 631 North Carrollton, or on Etsy at Viridian Tea Company. Try Viridian Tea Company today. Your taste buds will thank you.
You've waited for it, and now it's here. Get your very own Week in Geek Radio Show t-shirt and help support our show. These 100% cotton black t-shirts with the Week in Geek Radio Show logo are going fast. So don't wait. Go to twigradio.com and order your shirt now. Just go to twigradio.com and get your very own Week in Geek Radio Show t-shirt. $15 up to XL, $17 for 2X and 3X. That's twigradio.com.
Mata Hari, Agent H-21 is a spy fiction short story anthology about the famous dancer, seductress, and spy from World War I. Mata Hari, Agent H-21, published by Pro Se Productions, has 7 rip-roaring adventure tales about the world-famous super spy that features her battling her enemies by using any weapons at her disposal. Mata Hari, Agent H-21 is available for purchase in ebook and paperback formats on Amazon.com.
Do you have a message or logo that you need the world to see? Then rely on the folks at Gretna Signworks to use their expertise to deliver your design. With over 15 years in business, Gretna Signworks can do commercial and yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, magnetic signs, vehicle graphics and lettering, and so much more. Gretna Signworks also has an exceptional network of suppliers, so no job is out of scope. Find Gretna Signworks on Facebook or visit them at 2125 Bell Chase Highway today.
My name is Optimus Prime, and you are listening to The Week in Geek. Autobots, transform and roll out.
Welcome back into The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I'm your host, D-Squared, with
Brian Held.
Brian, we have a very special guest on the line.
We absolutely do. We met this gentleman at Gulf Coast Fan Fest
Yes.
here recently, but he reached out to us, and we were happy to bring him on. Author James Hostler. How are you, sir?
Great. It's James Hostler.
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
And I'm doing awesomely.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, so you are an author of a new comic book series called The Bobcat, right?
Yes, sir.
What is The Bobcat?
The Bobcat. It is set in 1898, Indian Territory. The protagonist is a Cherokee man. His name is Will Firemaker. He is a blacksmith living in Tahlequah, and he's like you and I. He thinks that the legends of the tribe are really just fairy tales until they begin to come to life. We are using authentic Cherokee mythology woven into a new fictional narrative with new characters that I've created, and some steampunk guys that are really, really awesome, Dr. Shock, Colonel Silas. So it's a Western with supernatural, science fiction, fantasy, and lots of action.
Well, and you know, this is what I really love about this project you've put together is that it's new, right? It's a new,
absolutely.
Yeah, that we get new content. It's not just a rehash of all this stuff, and it brings a lot of great elements together.
Absolutely, it does. Really, there's several genres that intersect in the story. The character is brand new and original. He's not based on any other character per se. The idea of sharing Native American culture and the culture of the former Indian Territory, Oklahoma, that blended culture, is something you're not finding out there. You know, it's rare is the closest you're going to get to almost none.
And this is something that's very close to you because you are using your own heritage, right? You're a Cherokee, right?
Correct. I'm classified as a citizen at large of the Cherokee Nation. I do not live within the tribal jurisdiction in the state, so I'm a citizen at large. But I inherited or got my citizenship in the nation through my grandmother, who went to school in Tahlequah, the focus of this book. She went there literally 100 years ago, like 1916, 1917. Wow. It was during World War I.
Wow.
And it was called the Cherokee Female Seminary at that time. So, yeah, I was not raised in Cherokee culture, but Cherokee culture has influenced my life, and the stories that my granny told and my dad has relayed to me, just different things that were, interesting or mysterious or legendary. It inspires awe and wonder,
Well, and it's a fantastic way to carry that legacy and expose it to new audiences.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
You have some incredible artwork, because you sent us a review copy, and the artwork was done by a guy named Jim Mesling, right?
Correct.
Yes. And tell me about him, because he's done some incredible stuff.
Absolutely. Jim lives in Des Moines, Iowa. We met him in 2016 in Tulsa at Wizard World. My wife actually found him, called me over there, and had me come to look. She said, you need to come and look at his work. And I did, and I loved it. And I began to tell Jim about the story that I was beginning and showed him some of the notes, some of the sketches, and some of the layouts. And he just looked at me and he said, well, who's doing your artwork? And I said, I'm not sure. And he said, I want to do it. And so the rest is history. Jim has been doing this for quite a while. He's an animator, too. He's done some animated little short films based on Star Wars and has actually won an award from Lucasfilm for one of those. He's been a professor, a teacher of the trade, and he does Topps Trading Card series. He's done multiple Star Wars original trading card art, and he's done a few Walking Dead, Rick and Morty, and some others. So his cards are drawn. He does original art on a blank that they send him, and it's like one of those Easter eggs or little gold nuggets that people find in the card sets of an original card drawn right on the blank.
Wow.
So that's crazy. So you went to Wizard World, get pictures with celebrities and go shopping, yes. And then you ended up shopping for an artist.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I was on the other side, just like you said. I was rubbing shoulders with all the celebs and talking to the Walking Dead dudes and everything. And my wife called and said, "Hey, come over here."
That's pretty interesting. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, really, it is a good area to really kind of shop around for stuff. Like you putting authors and artists together.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Wow, I can't believe I never really had that thought before.
Well, Dave,
right. And here's the interesting thing. I believe that was the exact show I was there because Neil Adams himself, he was there at the show.
Nice.
And he was a hero of mine just through the roof when I was a kid. It was William Shatner, Captain Kirk, and then Neil Adams, who brought Batman back from the brink and turned him into the Dark Knight. Anyway, again, is somebody that I have admired forever, and he was the very first professional artist to do a standard for the Bobcat character from my layouts.
Oh, wow.
And so I was picking that up while I was there, and I do now remember that I had that drawing and showed it to Jim, at the time, and told him about it, and that's when he was like, wow, this is exactly, he loves Cherokee mythology, he loves anything about Native Americans, he loves Westerns, so it was a match made in heaven, very serendipitous.
Can you paint a picture for the listeners as to what the Bobcat is and what he looks like? Because he's not a superhero, but he kind of like explain that to the audience.
Absolutely. Will Firemaker, his father is would you say a genetic chief? It's ancestral rather than elected. So he's from an ancestral line of chiefs. His mom is an Irish immigrant. And he's growing up there in Tahlequah. He does not have superpowers, but he is a gifted athlete, and of course he's a blacksmith, so he's tough as nails. He's strong, and he can run very long distances, just keep going, and he can also do short bursts, and that's just part of his physical abilities. But he has no superpowers per se. With that teasing, but not giving too much away, the compensation of not having the superpowers, he borrows them from some of the beings, the primordial ancient beings that will manifest themselves in the story. They're going to help him out.
Nice. All right. Yeah. That's what we call a tease in the radio biz. All right, I gotcha.
So now you have you're doing this as a Kickstarter, and this is your fourth one. You had one for each issue of your first three issues.
Correct.
And so I really like this because every Kickstarter you look at has that risks at the bottom of it, but there's no risk because it's done. It's ready to go, right?
Exactly. It's completely done. What we're doing is just trying to bring in some expense money that we use to finish out the trade paperback because I put in bonus material. I brought in guest artists doing some really cool pinups that are in there. We did a history section, and I neglected to tell you that earlier. This book also contains actual history of events and people that were in 1898 Indian Territory. They are woven into this fictional narrative. So we have this history section at the end talking about various things such as the Trail of Tears and Sewell Kalu, who makes an appearance in the third chapter. And Sewell Kalu basically is Bigfoot. And
nice.
That is an ancient tribal legend, Sewell Kalu.
Cool.
So all those elements are in there talking about actual history, actual legends that have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and how they're kind of woven into this fictional story, which I believe is extremely entertaining, and people are able to learn some things from it.
It's good to know that our conspiracy theories are rooted back in Native American history.
Yeah.
Now, see, we're not nuts for believing in Bigfoot.
Right.
There we go.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And there's a rock, and this is in the book. There's a rock in North Carolina called Juttaculla Rock, and it has these pteroglyphs and etchings and symbols on it that no one, professional or layman, can decipher and knows what it means. But if you ask anyone from the tribe, they'll tell you that Sewell Kalu made those marks on the rock.
Nice.
Wow. So
and that's real. That's a real deal. Very cool.
So I have to ask: is this something that's an ongoing series, or are these three chapters kind of self-contained?
It's a story arc. getting you set where everything is at, what's going down, some of the different elements, the way the story is going to roll. But it is just one story arc. There is all kinds of material. I've got years worth of material to go forward with. So many things to touch, and that's just from my initial ideas and using things that are already there, the actual history and the mythology, and then with the addition of the fictional characters I've created, especially like the steampunk dudes. There's years worth of material.
No, and
Absolutely.
that's great, because I love what you've presented thus far, and I could see me just reading this for a long time to come. This is wonderful. So, right, we are getting close to a commercial break. So, how can folks find more about you, find the Kickstarter, more importantly, and keep up with the Bobcat?
Absolutely. Of course, just go to kickstarter.com and type in the Bobcat, and all 4 campaigns, they'll be there, but the Bobcat trade paperback is the current one, and it'll tell you that it's active. And that's the way to find it on Kickstarter. It's real easy. And I wanted to throw this in.
Okay.
This was a great bonus that I got this week. I got an email out of the blue, the thing I had launched the project, 4 days prior, and I was just, things are moving along, and I thought, okay, cool. Well, I get an email from Kickstarter, and they said, well, we have determined that you are now titled a project that we love.
Huh. Wow.
And so that's like an honor to have that done, and they just sent that and said, we promote your project, we talk about it, and it's a project we love, so it's kind of like a little gold crown. So we were real happy with that.
No, it's definitely great news. Awesome.
Yeah. As far as learning more about the overall Bobcat story, etc., we've got a Facebook page that you type in The Bobcat, and it'll pull up different things, but it'll say fictional character, the Bobcat, and that's, of course, me. So there's a lot of stuff on that page. My personal page has a lot of information. James Hostler, Hostler. You can look there and see some material. And then we do have a website that my nephew, the IT whiz, has just launched, and it's real basic, but it's there, and it has a link to purchase the book on Amazon. If you feel like doing that, people that are a member of Amazon Prime can order the book and get it shipped for free. And that's the only outlet where it is physically available right now, because it's not going to hit the comic book stores until later. It's going to be in the Diamond Previews, the trade magazine, here in a few weeks. So there's that. The page address is thebobcat.net.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, James, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. Hang on for me. Guys, stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to air our interview with Mr. Sky Conway. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out, or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Jezebel Johnston, Devil's Handmaid by Nancy Hansen, is now an audiobook read for you by Brian Held. It's a tale of a young girl from Tortuga who disguises herself as a boy and bluffs her way onto a pirate ship, chasing after her one true love, only to find adventure on the high seas. Jezebel Johnston, Devil's Handmaid is available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. Get your copy of Jezebel Johnston today.
Do you have a message or logo that you need the world to see? Then rely on the folks at Gretna Signworks to use their expertise to deliver your design. With over 15 years in business, Gretna Signworks can do commercial and yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, magnetic signs, vehicle graphics and lettering, and so much more. Gretna Signworks also has an exceptional network of suppliers, so no job is out of scope. Find Gretna Signworks on Facebook or visit them at 2125 Bell Chase Highway today.
Friends, is your morning tea just not your cup of tea? Then try the tea blends of Viridian Tea Company. At Viridian Tea Company, they sell blends guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With such blends as My Enemy's Tears, Goth Librarian, Cyberpunk, and many more, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop, located at 631 North Carrollton, or on Etsy at Viridian Tea Company. Try Viridian Tea Company today. Your taste buds will thank you.
You've waited for it, and now it's here. Get your very own Week in Geek Radio Show t-shirt and help support our show. These 100% cotton black t-shirts with the Week in Geek Radio Show logo are going fast. So don't wait. Go to twigradio.com and order your shirt now. Just go to twigradio.com and get your very own Week in Geek Radio Show t-shirt. $15 up to XL, $17 for 2X and 3X. That's twigradio.com.
This is Captain Rex, troopers, and you're listening to The Week in Geek. Now move out!
This is Brian Held with the Week in Geek Radio Show on News Talk 99.5 WRNO, and I am joined by writer and producer Sky Conway. How are you, sir?
Awesome, Brian. Great to be here with you.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Now,
love your show.
Oh, thanks so much. Now, before we dig into some of the projects that you're working on, I wanted to ask, you got a chance to meet Gene Roddenberry all the way back in 1990 and spent time getting mentored by him. Tell me about your time with Gene.
Sure. I met Gene on the Paramount lot in 1990, and he was really such a wonderful guy. I spent about 30 to 40 minutes with him, getting to know him, and I was interviewing him for an article that we were doing for Ad Astra, the National Space Society magazine. And it was for the upcoming 25th anniversary of Star Trek. At about the same time, I had also met Nichelle Nichols, and we immediately hit it off because our birthdays were on the same days. And she, right after, about a week after I met Nichelle, she was invited to a party at Gene's house. We went there. A lot of the Next Generation cast was there. Walter Koenig was there, George Takei, some of the likely suspects in the original series as well.
Right.
And got into a much more in-depth conversation with Gene. We found that we had a lot in common. I told her that I eventually wanted to get into filmmaking, television, just like himself. I was an attorney in my past life, and I was making actually a lot of different entertainment merchandise for the studios, and in particular, Star Trek was my biggest seller, and I would have to meet periodically also with Gene for him to approve some of our merchandise because their imagery, a whole wide variety of product. So our paths kept crossing, and eventually he invited me over to his house just to sit and have discussion. This was toward the latter end of his life. His health was really going downhill quite rapidly, but when he felt well, I would get a call from Majel saying, Gene would like to see you. And we would sit down sometimes for a couple of hours and other times for like 30 minutes, depending on how he felt. And we talked about lots of topics and particularly loved talking about the future. And I did a lot of my own reading and research and sort of fancied myself a futurist as well. So we would swap a lot of ideas and thoughts about the future. And in particular, one of the last times I saw Gene, I had learned that the World Wide Web had just been released.
Wow.
And did some quick research on it, got caught up on it, and then I actually called out and told Majel I need to meet with Gene. Something really important in the world has happened. So I immediately was able to come over and meet with Gene, told him about the World Wide Web. Wasn't called the Internet at the time.
Right.
And I said, here's the deal, Gene. One day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, using this thing of the World Wide Web, people around the world will be able to use devices just like you have on Star Trek, the pads and the communicators, and you will be able to watch Star Trek anytime, anywhere, and wirelessly. And he was just thrilled. He said, when? You know, that's all he wanted to know is, when? I want to see that. And I said, Gene, I think it's probably about 10 years away before that occurs. So this is 1990.
Right.
He loved that. He loved talking about personal computers, the whole idea behind Star Trek, the motion picture, was about man merging with technology. That really was one of his favorite topics.
No, definitely. Now, you are carrying on his legacy, right? You've got a number of projects that you've worked on, one of which was called Renegades, and you're still working on Renegades, right? There's still episodes coming out for that, right?
Well, we had Star Trek Renegades, which was under the umbrella of a fan film, and then we just released Renegades The Requiem, which was sort of a spin-off sequel, and I've also co-written a pilot for a new Renegades with a different, not a Star Trek universe, but a very familiar universe, which takes in a lot of new technological issues that we're going to be challenged with. Each show would end in a morality play, like the best of Star Trek, but it has a very big, huge story arc, and we're gonna tackle, just like Gene and what he taught me, tackle the issues of the day, but cloak it in science fiction. And so we'll be tackling a lot of the big issues, and I'm looking to get funded here very shortly, and we have a 2-hour pilot written for that, and I hope that we're in pre-production now. Okay. I have lots of special effect models already done, different starships, spaceships, and I hope to begin shooting first quarter of next year.
No, that sounds great.
I'm very excited about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And of course, Renegades is moving in the direction that it is because of all the whole mess with Axanar and CBS and Paramount. But, I mean, bravo to you for really kind of just branching off in sort of your own IP direction. I mean, I think that's phenomenal. It seems like such a crazy kind of challenge the way CBS and Paramount have handled some of that.
Yeah, I don't think it was. Obviously, wasn't handled too well. It's a tough topic whenever you're dealing with someone's intellectual property rights. I mean, I do have to give CBS and Paramount their props, though. For more than a decade, they allowed us filmmakers and huge Star Trek fans to play in their sandbox. So even though it kind of ended up kind of messy at the end, I'm just happy and thrilled that we were given the opportunity to do that. And it does bring up a story. I was on the set virtually every day for the filming of Star Trek VI.
Oh,
and I was there either as a guest of Nichelle Nichols or Jimmy Doohan, and I was I was honored to see that film unfolding and filmed. And one of the things, though, just a lot of the actors, like my friend Walter Koenig and Nichelle, thought the script was pretty good. They really admired Nick Myers and his direction. But one thing that Nichelle said to me was, we're sitting there one day, he said, you know what, if we ever given the opportunity, we should try to do a Star Trek film. And so, because there were things that we were all hoping Star Trek 6 would be a little bit more of an ensemble like Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
And I said, you got that, let's do that, Nichelle. And literally the opportunity came up. I mean, I had learned about what James Cawley was doing through Walter Koenig in the episode that he was in.
All right.
So that kind of gave inspiration to get it and do it. And I called up Nichelle one day and said, Nichelle, do you want to make a Star Trek film? And she said, I'm all in, count me in. And that led to Star Trek: Of Gods and Men being made.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which was essentially the very first independent feature film, Star Trek feature film.
A new IP that you're working on, that you actually have a Kickstarter that's going on right now, is called Cosmos. Tell me about this project.
Well, it's a pet project. It was actually the very first one that I started working on and writing and conceiving. And I kind of wanted to do a mashup of a couple things. One is I always loved, like a lot of us, loved the Cantina and Star Wars. And I always thought, there should be a whole universe that could be set in the space bar, similar to that or like that. There's a lot of great short stories, science fiction written that took place in space bars. I always wanted to have that as a backdrop. But growing up, besides my favorite shows were actually The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And those are all anthology shows.
Right.
And I loved them as a kid, but I always wondered why weren't they really more successful? I mean, even though Twilight Zone is iconic, why aren't they more successful, and why can't they go on like franchises? and I did a breakdown of all these shows. And what I learned from that was that television is driven by characters and their character development, right?
Right,
and
right.
So it really is about the basic characters and each of their story arcs. When you're doing an anthology series like Twilight Zone, you don't have any episodic, ongoing, serialized characters, neither with Alfred Hitchcock, neither with The Outer Limits. The Outer Limits had that eerie little voice. Alfred Hitchcock, of course, had Alfred introduce and then close. And same thing with Rod Serling for the Twilight Zone, but was never really, and then they would tell their story, but they really were ongoing characters. I thought, how do we solve that problem? And it occurred to me that we can solve that problem by having a B story that could run in a space bar. And what do you do in space bars? You tell stories.
Right.
So I could take the love of my anthology series, and there's all these great science fiction short stories that have never been turned into any kind of film or TV. And I thought, well, this is the way to do that. So the bar is the backdrop. We have the main characters in it, Cosmo, who is played by Ethan Phillips from Voyager.
Yeah.
Drake Bell is sort of the human that's the butt of all the jokes. And so we have this ongoing bookend characters that take place in Cosmo's Thirsty Tentacle Bar and Grill. But what happens is that the aliens are there, and they tell stories usually about their very first encounters about human beings. And humans are the butt of all the jokes. And it was my very favorite episodes of Twilight Zone usually had a very cynical take on humans, where the aliens always got the upper hand, and the humans were always sort of the butt of all the jokes. So I took the best of that and melded it with this show. First person I hired was Ralph McQuarrie, who was the first guy that George Lucas hired to do the concept art for Star Wars.
Nice.
And so he did some renderings. He did some alien creatures for me. In fact, he said, "Here, you can even have some of these alien creature sketches I did for George, but I never gave them to George for Star Wars. So I did do them for Star Wars. So I have those." And then I engaged a good friend of mine, Kevin Anderson. He's a best-selling science fiction author, to help kind of flesh out the basic story for the first pilot. And then co-wrote the script and brought on Stephen First to direct it, our beloved director who's, as you know, passed away from Ness. And so I miss him terribly. So we filmed it, and now we're doing a crowdfund just to finish, to polish off the music, which can be very expensive, and some final special effects. And then I can't wait to release it. I personally think that this series can catch on as like a fan favorite, a cult favorite, if you will, but even have a mainstream appeal both to young people and to older fans like myself.
Oh, definitely. Now, all of these projects, Cosmo, Renegades, all the stuff that you're working on, you already have a vehicle to distribute this stuff. Tell me about the Atomic Network.
Thank you for bringing that up. Atomic Network is, our slogan is smart TV for techies, Trekkies, geeks, and gamers. So it's more than science fiction, but the core of it is my love for science fiction, but it covers science and geekdom and pop culture, and it's a streaming network. We're also tying it into some new blockchain technology so that we can reduce our streaming costs, have more interaction with our customers. But it's for fans. It's a very ambitious project, and we already have Star Trek Renegades on that. Renegades, the Requiem, Floaters, which is a licensed show I brought in, a friend of mine who directed and wrote it. Got a lot in development. So there'll be non-fiction shows as well as fiction shows.
Nice. That's incredible stuff. All right, so we are getting close to a commercial break. Tell folks out there how they can find the Kickstarter, how they can keep up with all the projects that you're working on.
They can we're on Kickstarter, so they can either go to Kickstarter and then just put in the search engine Cosmos, and that's spelled with a Z, so it's COZMOS, or they could go to atomicnetwork.tv, and there's a link on there to the crowdfund.
Wonderful. Well, Sky, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
I hope so. Thanks so much, Brian. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to close out the show as we always do with This Week in Geek History. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Friends, is your morning tea just not your cup of tea? Then try the tea blends of Viridian Tea Company. At Viridian Tea Company, they sell blends guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With such blends as My Enemy's Tears, Goth Librarian, Cyberpunk, and many more, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop, located at 631 North Carrollton, or on Etsy at Viridian Tea Company. Try Viridian Tea Company today. Your taste buds will thank you.
Mata Hari, Agent H21, is a spy fiction short story anthology about the famous dancer, seductress, and spy from World War I. Mata Hari, Agent H21, published by Pro Se Productions, has 7 rip-roaring adventure tales about the world-famous super spy that features her battling her enemies by using any weapons at her disposal. Mata Hari, Agent H21 is available for purchase in ebook and paperback formats on Amazon.com.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out, or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Welcome back to The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. Like them on Facebook at The Week in Geek Radio Show. Here are your hosts, D Squared and Brian Held.
Welcome back to The Week in Geek. I'm D Squared with
Brian Held.
As always, we want to strongly urge you to check out the Facebook page. It's like the voice guy said, facebook.com/The Week in Geek. Check out our website at twigradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twigradio, and the Instagram's The Week in Geek. Now, Brian, how can people listen to this lovely show?
Well, if you missed any part of that great interview with James, or you want to listen to your favorite part again, you can always find us on Spreaker.com or download Spreaker for your smartphone or tablet. We're also on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, and at WRNO.com.
In a shocking turn of events, Brian Held has become the heavy, and he fired Skungy already. Why did you fire him? Why are you so mean? Why are you so mean to my little Skungy?
Right.
Well, he should answer his damn phone.
Yes.
For our listeners, they get a special, exclusive Week in Geek History just for them.
This Week in Geek History.
We're sending you back to the future!
Yes! Oh my God!
This Week in Geek History is brought to you by Jezebel Johnston, Devil's Handmaid by Nancy Hansen, read by Brian Held. Available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. This Week in Geek History.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, wow. All right.
I thought this one was pretty appropriate from Mr. Hostler with his supernatural elements of the Bobcat on November 12th, 1933. Hugh Gray captures what he claims to be the first known photo of the Loch Ness Monster.
Wow. Was it all grainy and black and white?
Well, of course, right after that picture was taken, the monster demanded about $350.
How old is that joke now?
Oh, I love it.
We're going to write you some new material, buddy.
All right.
All right, what's next?
What's next? This one has some connection to our buddy Jason Carter.
Okay.
Yes, on November 13th, 1992. Starring Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, and Keanu Reeves, it is...
Oh, my God.
Come on.
Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, and who'd won a Ryder?
Yes, and Gary Oldman.
I am clueless. I have no idea.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yes.
Dang it. Yeah, that was a good movie.
And the reason it's connected to our buddy Jason is because he was tapped to play Dracula originally.
Wow.
He didn't get the part, but yeah.
All righty then.
Yeah, so...
All right, what's next?
Last on my list, this one's kind of cool. November 14th, 1979. A programmer, Jed Margolin from Atari, proposes a game called Warp Speed. It's a first-person space war game. It eventually got released as the Star Wars arcade game.
Oh, well, look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that special?
And, of course, that's the real old one with the line graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
It's a good one.
All right. That's a wrap, dude.
Yes, it is.
Let's get the hell out of here. Till next time, keep your nerd flag raised high.
GFL.
Walton and Johnson, making mornings great on News Talk 99.5 WRNO FM, New Orleans. An iHeart radio station.